Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hello, everybody. I am very excited to have today with us Dr. J. Fulgencio. Hi, Dr. J. How are you?
Good, Sammy. Thank you for the introduction.
Yes. So just a little bit of background. I really wanted to invite Dr. J to be with us. He's the founder and president of Learngenix, which is an e-learning platform for continuing ed, for technology solutions. He's a published author, international consultant. He also deals a lot with entrepreneurship and education for social interest groups for the United States Association of Small Business and Entrepreneurship Organizations. So he has a lot of experience, education, entrepreneurship, the professional sector, professional development, and more importantly, e-learning. And we met through a mutual friend, and I was just completely like cracking him down, like, you need to come on the podcast because e-learning's become like the thing at all ages. I mean, this is now generational, from little ones that are learning from home to older people, adults that are trying to enhance their skill sets. And so Learngenix is a new platform that Dr. J was developing even before the pandemic, but then all of a sudden it took on a whole other, I'm sure, like a whole other new meaning. And so thank you for joining us today, because I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Definitely. I'm ready to answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the biggest thing that's like in the air right now with e-learning is that there are a lot of questions about the effectiveness. How effective is e-learning, especially among young people or children? What are your general thoughts on this?
Well, I think e-learning is something that is here for the near future, and I think it was only a matter of time before we get it full-time as we see now. I mean, you look in the future of the workforce, and especially when kids hit college, that it's all on, most everything is done online. Homework assignments, video lectures, sometimes even online courses. Majority of students are taking online courses. So now we're preparing students for what the future is in the workforce. So it's not the greatest because you want kids to have interactions with humans, that human interaction. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's kind of preparing them for what they're going to see later on down the future. But of course, we do face challenges, especially amongst K-12 with e-learning.
Yeah. Especially among, excuse me, I missed that last part.
Sorry. Like in K-12, I think there's still a problem with e-learning in terms of access to quality internet and computers. Not every kid, the way our public school system works, not every school district is adequate or has the funding to give a kid a proper computer and then have that kid have proper internet access compared to another kid in a school district where they have the quality internet access and quality computers just because of the neighborhood they live in. So we face that challenges of just the access to the internet and the access to a quality computer. And let's not forget the parents as well. Some parents are much more adequate to, help their student or the kid with, when they have issues with the computer or, I don't get this, then someone, an immigrant parent who barely knows how to turn on a computer, like, how do I help my kid if I don't even know how to turn on this computer? So
right.
Those challenges.
So those are the challenges, but it's something to really point out, because if you're saying that this is the trend, and I agree with you, it's like technology is in our future, whether we like it or not, and it's going to be a constant. And so that's something that definitely then needs to be addressed, is providing everyone the right resources to be able to work in that way, right? Yeah. And so then I think but it's inevitable. So I guess, shout out to everybody who has access to funding, to be able to ensure that, and also vote. So that way, to ensure that all communities have access to the proper technology to be able to tap into these e-learning platforms. And so how did you go about, and why establishing Learngenix? What prompted you to get into this space and industry?
So good question. So now I've been teaching online for close to almost a decade now. So online learning, online courses, that field, like learning management systems and the e-learning technology solutions, has been like in me for years now. So I've been learning about it, teaching online, going to conferences, taking continuing education courses. And so it was a matter of time where it's like, okay, I need to up my level. Like I want to start something that uses my skills and my assets that I've learned over the years to put out something where myself, and behind a business that, I have actual experience in, and like I know what I'm talking about. And so I'm providing solutions that actually people can use, and like this is actually vetted by someone who's qualified in the field, not only through my academic background, forget that I have a PhD in the field, but also like I've worked in this for numerous years with various learning management systems and, various courses that I've taken and the certifications that I have. So it's only a matter of time where I really wanted to give something, to provide the best quality solution.
Yeah. So it's almost like, your academic background, and then you actually experiencing the shortcomings in the industry made you land where you are today. Yeah. What did you think? What did you think when it was all of a sudden, because I know that you launched this before the pandemic. And so then what did you think how was that, when the pandemic began really, affecting us in terms of having everyone on lockdown? What did you think? In terms of the timing, and then also how's that transition been?
Yeah, the timing couldn't have been better, and I say that sarcastically in a funny way, because as I was starting this right before the pandemic, so I was really trying. I was going to face-to-face networking events, and one of the things, especially for me, was like I need to get people face-to-face. Since I'm selling this product, people need to trust in me so they can buy this product from me.
Right.
And so that was the main way that I was gaining traction. And all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and it's like, okay, now it has to be all virtual online. So how do I establish that rapport with people in trusting me and as the individual behind Learngenix, so that they can make the purchase? So that has been the upcoming battle in terms of getting to meet with people face to face, knowing that now they have a lot more on their plate now.
Yeah.
Just because they're at home working now, I'm reading articles saying now they're actually working even more than they used to when they were in the office, because now they're home and their boss are getting more. So how do I make that connection with people when right now they're much more busier and budgets right now are stagnant? People don't want to spend right now on things that they don't necessarily need. Per se.
Right. But there's a lot of unemployment out there too. And so I know that a lot of the offerings, because I've been on the platform, have to do with continuing it, and people reinventing themselves also has a lot to do with landing a new job. And so what do you feel are the top 3 skills or areas of improvement that professionals across most industries, and I know this would be like a blanket statement, but would benefit from, to advance their careers in terms of, skills, knowledge, expertise, coursework.
Yeah. I think the top three, and not naming them in order. So one of the first ones is, of course, like communication / public speaking. I think that's one of the most important skills to learn. And it's always good to kind of test yourself and continue with that, especially online now. Like, since everything is online, how do you communicate effectively online through email or whatever it may be? So, communications, writing, and public speaking, I think, is one. The second one, I think, would be digital marketing is another one.
Yeah.
Now it's like, because, even bosses today would say, okay, you have this program to do here, go market it. And it's like, well, I don't have any digital marketing skills. Well, it's like, you go figure it out, right? So I think that's another one that we need to, work on. And I think the third one, and important one as well, is entrepreneurship. Per se. When I mean by entrepreneurship, it's like, I don't mean like you're going to learn it so you're going to go start your own business. What I mean by that, learning the skills and entrepreneurship that's going to help you in your job, because in a sense, you're your own entrepreneur, and you're even in your own job, because a lot of jobs now are, whether you're in social services, whether you're a business, for profit, whatever it may be, it's like a boss will give you a task and you have to go and deliver and launch it. Sort of like when you have your own startup, it's like, okay, here it is. Like, now go launch it, go start it on your own or with a group of people. So having those entrepreneurship skills is actually beneficial to you in the workforce, even if you work for somebody.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that another discovery, right, or another unintended consequence of the pandemic is that a lot of people are going to now work remotely. And so that requires also some level of entrepreneurship spirit or drive. Because you're going to be expected to work a lot more independently too, but at the same time, then you're going to be held accountable for the outcome. So that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. So when people are looking for an online platform to learn new stuff, what do you feel are like some really important criteria that they should consider before, purchasing, buying into it, or, committing to like the coursework? Because everyone's so swamped, So what would you say they should? It's like the checklist before they jump in.
Well, I think one is who's giving the course, like do the background, like what platform or what company or what individual is giving the course. So check out who they are, like what's their credentials. The second one would be like, is it easy to navigate and easy to access? Is it easy registration? Do I just need to give the basic information there I have access? What do you get at the end of the course? Do you get the CEU or do you get a certificate of completion? So what do you get at the end of this, and what do you gain? And also, like, what entails and how long will this course take me to complete? I think that's an important part as well. Like, a good course or a good description will tell you it's going to take you X amount of time to complete this course. So I think that would be really beneficial to see how much. Those things would be really important to see before taking the course.
That's very good advice. Actually, I have a friend that was an entrepreneur. He was a professional, then was an entrepreneur for like 11 years, and then went back to, to the workforce. But he'd been so far removed, from, because he was an entrepreneur for 10 years. So then how do you go back? But he had all this experience, but he didn't have like a master's or anything, above the bachelor's degree. But he had all this experience. And so he had his eye on this big company that he wanted to work for. And he spoke to the human resources director. And she's like, well, I could see you have all the experience, but we need you to like, if you had a certification on this. So he spent about, I want to say, a year and a half, maybe, getting small certificate to like basically beef up and polish up all of these skills that he learned in those 10 years of entrepreneurship, to really, become skilled and an expert on them. And he landed the job eventually that he wanted with the company. So it does, I mean, I've seen it, I mean, I know it's a case study of one, but I know that it does help, especially during these times where um people and companies are starting now to rehire, and there's such a wide net to choose from, so much great talent out there, so then it's like, how do you compete? And so this can give people a competitive edge, for sure. What would you say that are the industries that have a higher shortage of qualified candidates, and what kind of qualifications?
Good question. I think, well, some of the fields, and I had to go do some research on my own, just from, from what I know, but IT, I think, is one, and I see that IT, individual IT scientists, the hard sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, those fields, soil sciences, database administration, engineers, and of course, construction. The construction is having one of those battles, and of course, mathematicians. So those fields, there's a shortage of highly qualified individuals, and because in those fields, it's like you really have to be qualified to even have the job, but whether it's be the degree that you have or the certifications or the training that you need to get into those fields, like those, they have a shortfall of highly qualified individuals. So it's not like anyone can just apply to those jobs.
Right.
You do need that. You need that background.
Right. But then if these types of professionals then couple those highly sought after degrees and knowledge and very targeted levels of expertise with communications and digital market, it's like almost creating a unicorn at that point. I can imagine, right? Yeah. Yes. So have you seen an uptick in demand of certain courses since March? And that when the employment market was impacted by the pandemic, and if so, which ones? Like with Learngenix, which courses have you seen an uptick in terms of engagement?
I think the uptick has been we do have a course in remote workers, so how to manage remote workers. So that one has been really an uptick. Of course, leadership and management courses has been as well. Of course, project management, those courses have been the uptick in regards to the course offerings. So there has been the uptick in that. Of course, marketing is making its way up there, but those are the main courses that has been rising in the uptick.
Okay, fantastic. And then there's like this trend now, or at least of announcing it, where big companies say, if you don't have a college degree, that's okay. We'll, just want to make sure that we have the best of the best. And I think it was Elon Musk that said that he just wants to make sure that people are exceptionally skilled or something like that, or at what they do. It's like the wow factor, right? And so and even to be promoted, like Costco, for example, they start from, like, you go from warehouse to managerial, and that it's a possibility, and you don't need to have a college degree to work yourself up the ranks. And so do you think that eventually this will become a hiring standard where people just need to be like freaking awesome at what they do and have like this bag of tricks that they can really command a lot of disciplines, and people are looking for that kind of talent?
Yes and no. I still see a college degree being valuable. I don't think universities and colleges are going to let their workforce just say, oh yeah, you don't need a college degree for our job. Universities still have a lot of power and a lot of say, so I don't think that's going to be the norm in the future. But I do see those types of jobs, like the Costco, even Discount Tire, right? They don't like to hire MBAs, because I read an article about them, and so Other companies like that, Whole Foods, I believe, before Amazon bought them, you got to work your way up from, cashier all the way to management. Yes, there will always be those types of jobs, just because the nature of the job is. I mean, working at a warehouse, I don't think, your philosophy 101 course is going to help you in the warehouse per se.
Yeah.
But there will always be those jobs that because there are people out there who just work best by doing the job. Like, I don't need a college degree because I can work best this way. And there are people like that, and that's great. But other people need to be in the classroom to learn a particular programming or skill or whatever it may be to be in a job that actually requires a college degree, or the training that is. So I think yes and no. I think there will always be that division between jobs that don't require a college degree that you need to go work from the bottom up, and there's always be jobs that require you to have a degree just because of the nature of the job. So I think it just depends on the nature of the job, of what people need to do. But I think it's an option, though, that I think starting in high school, they should tell, listen, these are the jobs that don't require a degree, but these are the skills that you need, though. Can you lift it? Are you ready for manual labor? I think that you should tell individuals, like, if you are this type of person and you prefer this, here are your options. If you prefer this, here are your options. I think they should, starting in high school, kids should know these are the options for you that you have, and these are the requirements and your options at what you will have. But then again, but you should also let students know that if you choose this path of working a job where you don't need a college degree, what if 5-10 years from now you want to make a career change and now you want to go to college? You have to also let them know that, well, you have to go to college then, and so just give them all the options and know the good and the bad.
Yeah, the pros and the cons. And I think also from the employer standpoint, I think it's cool to highlight the companies that are a little bit more creative or accepting or that embrace, people's different ways of learning and delivering, and performing at the job, because you're right, depending on the position, it just may require someone that's extremely creative or that's more artistic or is a good communicator, regardless of what their academic background is. And so, yeah, I think it's to meet at the middle, to make sure that the workforce has as many opportunities available to them to reach their fullest potential, but then also that the job market and employers are more open to not judge people by their academic success. Yeah. So paired up, it's a really interesting, paradigm shift, and I'm interested in seeing how that goes. Having two younger kids of my own, I see their personalities, and one of them is, school and him. He's a great student, but they don't jive. But and then this is a very important question, because sometimes and I'm an entrepreneur too, and I'm always learning, but I don't necessarily do it in a formal setting. Again, it's through peer-to-peer mentorship, attending panels, that kind of stuff. Is eLearning a viable tool to make a transition from the professional sector or corporate America into entrepreneurship? Because I just went into entrepreneurship out of need, because I lost my job during the last recession, 2008. But a lot of people toy with the idea of, I've already put in 10, 15 years, or they're about to retire, or they do retire, but they're still young. And they're like, okay, what now? So is eLearning a good tool to make that transition into entrepreneurship?
Yes, it is, in a sense that it's always best to learn before trying. I mean, I know trying is a good tool, but you kind of want to know, like, what it entails, like, in entrepreneurship per se. Like, what are the things that require you to be an entrepreneur, to launch your own business? Not to get too much into it, but Learngenix offers a really good certification in entrepreneurship, because it offers all the things that you need: marketing, accounting, and finance. How to start running a business. So all these essential tools in e-learning, and not just Learngenix, but other platforms offer these great courses for you to first learn what does it take and what do I need to have, or if it's not me, then do I need to go work for somebody else or hire other people to do these things for me to launch this business. So yeah, it's always, e-learning is a great way to start to learn and what I need to know in the world of entrepreneurship before I launch, because the last thing you want is to do first, spend $30,000 and then it automatically just fails because you didn't learn about the things that you need. You didn't learn about your market, your competitors, and all these other aspects that go into entrepreneurship.
Yes, absolutely. It's like 2 years down the road when the IRS is sending you a letter because you didn't fill out the business, the business taxes, and you gave it to your brother-in-law because he has a degree in finance, but it's not the same thing. I mean, am I speaking from experience? I think so. That's what happened to me. I'm like, holy crap, what just happened? But anyway, but yes, I agree with you. You save time, money, years off your life too, because of the stress that comes with just making poor decisions because you don't know what you don't know, right? So I agree with you. There's always like that baseline or foundational knowledge that's always important before you dive into like a whole other world. And so for entrepreneurs, what would you say are the top 3 areas they should take a deep dive into to be able to either launch a new business during these times or improve what they're currently doing so they can land on the other side of this pandemic on their 2 feet?
So I think the top 3 things would be communication, I guess is another important one. So how do you communicate now that we don't have the face-to-face environment per se how do you communicate with someone online in a virtual environment? So I think that would be one. I still think you need to, as always, accounting and finance is an important one. You don't need to be an accountant wizard. You don't have to, but at least the language of accounting and finance is very important for any entrepreneur to learn. That's what I always say. Learn the language. Learn what does it mean when someone tells me a cash flow statement? I need your cash flow statement. You should at least know what that is. And I think the third one now that's up in the rise is data. How do you manage that? Like all this data that's given to you. So like the search engine optimization and all that. So now if you like Google now gives you like all this data about your website, at least learn that as well. And I think that's what I'm learning that as well. Like, me and Tony, my partner, we're trying to understand what Google's telling me. Is like, what is Google telling us about our website, So learning that, I think that's an important one because as an entrepreneur, you want to see like, where are the hits coming from? What countries per se, or what areas are they coming from? At what time are they coming from? What are they clicking on? So you have to know because now your website is your storefront. So learning how to manage your website, learning, all the analytics that come from your website is very important. So that's another important key aspect as well for entrepreneurs, like learning how the website works and where, is it getting the hits that you needed to have in order to make it viable.
Right, totally. And that makes sense because with the data, you can make informed decisions in everything and where to invest in marketing, where to cut back, what programming or products and services to focus on because they have what messaging is resonating with people the most, who you need to hire, who you need to hire, right? To fill in the gaps and make sure that you're advancing and progressing and growing and scaling the business. That's fantastic. So any big takeaways or last, comments that you'd like to make and share with our viewers and the people that listen in, about e-learning and its value?
I think, e-learning and learning in general, whether it's e-learning or through podcasts or whatever it may be, I think people should always, always, always be learning. And there's always time to learn. Like one thing that bothers me is because I don't have time. I go, yeah, you do. Like, get off the social media for a minute. Because now, you know what I tell people? I was like, I can go on your phone and it gives me the exact amount of time that you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So that time you spend, it's important to go learn. And there's a lot of free stuff online, whether it's on YouTube or podcast. So learn as much as you can about a particular topic that interests you or that's essential in your life, like whether it's financial literacy, entrepreneurship, database management, leadership, management, human resources. There's particular topics, social work, whatever it is, it's always, always good to be on top and learn as much as you can. And don't waste time not learning because, as we see in today, it's a highly competitive environment. You always have to be on your tiptoes, learning about what's new, because, jobs, bosses are always like, what have you done for me lately? And so you need to know, I was able to put out this new digital marketing for our program or for our job, whatever it may be. So you always have to continuously learn because jobs now today aren't going to give it to you. You have to go seek it out yourself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's actually good advice. And also maybe that's a way that people, because a lot of people, I have family members and friends that are like this, worried that they're going to lose their jobs. So it's also perhaps good to see where the gaps are. Like if they let go of these people, that means that there's a gap there. And so maybe I can learn that skill and support a little bit while we, again, get over this hump, and, maybe help analyze the data, maybe help, maybe offer to take on with social media marketing and promote the business and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that all of this information was very valuable, and I really hope that people take away new tips on how to enhance their competitive edge and also make a decision too, because a lot of people I find are at that crossroads too. Do I keep on looking or do I create my own path and start entrepreneurship, which is also another option? And so just knowing that there are tools out there and people that have also experienced it, and know that it is possible, it's important. And I really do appreciate a lot that you joined us today to share your area of expertise and give us all of these tips for the professional and for also the entrepreneur. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.